So you did it. You just bought your dream historic home. You've got the vision. You can feel the character. You're already planning for the holidays, and you are ready to pour your heart and soul into making it yours. It's an exciting, almost intoxicating feeling. But before you even think about picking up a sledgehammer or a paintbrush, just pump the brakes for a second. And you'll want to pay close attention because mistake number 4 is a silent killer. It's a sneaky problem that could be hiding in your walls right now, slowly wrecking your house from the inside out without you even knowing it. Learning about these 5 things before you start could be the most important part of your entire project. It'll save you money, time, and most importantly, the heartbreak of accidentally ruining the very home you fell in love with. Let's get into it. The first major mistake, and honestly, the most dangerous one, is underestimating what's hiding behind your walls. I'm talking about ancient electrical systems and the very real possibility of asbestos. When you buy an old house, especially one built before the 1980s, you're not just getting charming architecture. You're often inheriting a museum of outdated and hazardous building materials. We were so pumped to open up a wall between our kitchen and a small, dusty pantry. We pictured this beautiful, open-concept space. We got the tools out, the energy was high, and we started swinging. And it didn't take long to see it. The wiring wasn't the modern, plastic-coated Romex you see today. It was knob and tube. Ceramic knobs holding the wires off the framing and ceramic tubes protecting them where they passed through the wood. Now, this stuff isn't automatically dangerous if it's left alone and is in perfect shape, but the insulation on those old wires gets incredibly brittle. The slightest nudge can make it flake off, exposing a live wire and creating a massive fire hazard. But the wiring wasn't even the scariest part. As we looked closer, we saw some of the insulation had this fibrous, whitish coating. That is a giant red flag for asbestos. For decades, asbestos was a miracle material because it was so heat resistant, making it a go-to for insulating wires in old homes. We all know now how incredibly dangerous it is to disturb this stuff. When you break or cut it, it releases microscopic fibers into the air that, if you breathe them in, can cause fatal diseases like mesothelioma and lung cancer years down the road. Our exciting demo day came to a screeching halt. The mistake was thinking we could just dive right in. The reality is, starting demolition without knowing what's in your walls is like driving blindfolded. The cost to fix this isn't just about money. It's a real health risk to your family. We had to bring in certified pros to test the material. When it came back positive, we had to hire a specialized asbestos abatement company to safely remove it, all while we lived in a plastic sealed-off section of our house. This was a completely unbudgeted expense that cost us thousands and set our project back by weeks. So here's what you do instead. Before any demolition, assume the worst. Hire a licensed electrician to inspect your wiring. They'll tell you if you have knob and tube, aluminum wiring, or other old systems that need replacing. Even more importantly, get a certified asbestos inspection before you start. I know it feels like a frustrating delay when you're dying to get started, but the cost of an inspection is a tiny fraction of what full-scale abatement costs, and you can't put a price on your health. Don't let the thrill of demo day blind you to the real dangers lurking just under the surface. The second mistake that will absolutely drain your bank account is falling for the character of an old house while completely ignoring its skeleton, the foundation, the framing, and the load-bearing walls. We all buy old houses for their charm, right? The floors that slope just so, the quirky angles, that feeling of history. But there's a very fine line between charming character and a critical structural failure, and not knowing the difference is an expensive lesson. Old houses have had a lot of time to settle and shift. This can lead to a ton of hidden structural problems that a standard home inspection might not flag. You might see a long horizontal crack in your foundation and chalk it up to the house's story. In reality, It could be a sign that soil or water pressure is actively trying to buckle your walls. You might love the idea of taking down a wall for that open plan dream, but figuring out which walls are holding the house up is way more complicated in old construction. Our big lesson came when we decided to renovate the main bathroom. The plan was to install a gorgeous, but very heavy, cast iron clawfoot tub. We saw the floor had a little dip in it, but we just wrote it off as old house charm. We bought the tub, got it delivered, and just as we were ready for the install, our contractor hit the brakes. He took a look in the crawl space below and came back with bad news. One of the main floor joists under the bathroom was rotting away from a slow leak that probably happened decades ago. Another joist had been hacked up by a plumber years ago to run a pipe, making it dangerously weak. That charming dip in the floor was actually a warning sign of structural fatigue. If we had put that heavy water-filled tub in, we could have had a total catastrophe, with the tub and half our bathroom crashing into the room below. The project's cost instantly skyrocketed. We had to sister new joists to the old ones and add a bunch of new support blocking. It was a complicated, expensive repair we hadn't planned for, all because we mistook a huge warning sign for a quaint little feature. This is why starting any major work without a full structural assessment is a huge gamble. If you can, do it before you even buy the house, but definitely do it before you start moving walls or adding heavy things like tubs or giant kitchen islands. Hire a structural engineer. They're trained to spot what everyone else misses. They can analyze cracks, check the framing, and tell you for sure which walls can go and which ones absolutely cannot. This isn't just for big additions. It's for any project that changes the layout or adds serious weight. The few $100 you spend on an engineer can save you from a 5-figure emergency later. Respect the bones of your house. The character is what you see, but the bones are what keep it all standing. The third mistake is probably the most common one, and it comes from a place of pure, simple optimism. It's the mistake of creating a perfect line-item budget for your renovation and actually believing it's accurate. In a new house? Maybe. In an old house? Not a chance. Failing to build a serious contingency fund into your budget isn't just risky, it's a guaranteed recipe for stress and bad decisions. When we started our renovation, we had a spreadsheet that was a thing of beauty. Every single thing was budgeted, from big-ticket appliances down to the last box of screws. We were so proud of our plan. We felt totally in control. We had our number, and that was the number we were working with. What we didn't have was a separate, untouchable pile of cash for the unknown. And then the surprises started. They never show up one at a time. They cascade. During the kitchen demo, we found out a previous owner had rerouted plumbing that was nowhere near up to code. Surprise number 1. When the plumber came to fix it, he opened a wall and found a huge, active termite colony munching on a support beam. Surprise number 2. While the exterminator was dealing with the termites, he noticed evidence of powder post beetles in the subfloor. Surprise number 3. Then, while replacing that bit of subfloor, we found old water damage that had led to a nice patch of black mold. Surprise number 4. In about 2 weeks, our perfectly planned budget was completely torched. We were suddenly facing a list of urgent, non-negotiable repairs we hadn't accounted for. This is that moment in a renovation where you start making bad choices. You think, well, maybe we can get the cheaper flooring. Or, maybe I can do the electrical work myself. Or in the worst case, you just run out of money and are left with a half-finished, unlivable construction site. Ask any experienced renovator, and they'll tell you, you must have a contingency fund of at least 10 to 20% of your total budget. And this is key. This money is not part of your budget. It's not for upgrades. It's an emergency fund you don't touch unless an unexpected disaster pops up. If your renovation costs $50,000, you need another $5,000 to $10,000 sitting in a separate account ready to go. If you get to the end of the project and haven't touched it, great, you've got a furniture fund. But you should go into the project fully expecting to use every penny of it. Old houses are full of surprises, and most of them aren't the fun kind. Plan for the unexpected, because in an old house, the unexpected is the only thing you can count on. All right, we're more than halfway through. And if you're feeling that special mix of excitement and sheer terror that comes with owning an old home, do me a quick favor and hit that like button. It's a tiny click for you, but it helps our channel reach more people who are about to make these same expensive mistakes. And if you haven't yet, maybe subscribe and hit that notification bell. We share everything we learn on this adventure, the good, the bad, and the pricey, so you don't have to learn it the hard way. Now, let's talk about that silent killer I mentioned. This brings us to mistake number 4, and it really is a silent killer for old homes. It's the mistake of using modern materials and methods that just don't work with the way your house was built. This is such a sneaky problem because, on the surface, it looks like you're upgrading. You're using new, better products, right? But what you could be doing is trapping moisture, causing permanent damage, and slowly destroying your house from the inside out. Old houses were designed to breathe. Materials like lime-based plaster, solid wood, and soft, porous brick were all part of a system that let moisture vapor pass right through the walls and escape. They were built to get wet and then dry out. Modern construction is the total opposite. It's all about creating a perfectly sealed plastic box. We use vapor barriers, waterproof paints, dense concrete, and foam insulation to stop moisture at all costs. The catastrophic mistake happens when you use that modern, sealed box thinking on an old, breathing house. The most common culprit? Paint. You go to the hardware store, buy a durable, high-quality latex paint, and you lovingly roll it over your beautiful, original plaster walls. What you've just done is wrap your walls in a plastic bag. Moisture is still going to get in that wall from humidity, from the ground, from a tiny crack somewhere. But now it can't get out. That modern paint traps the moisture inside the wall, where it starts to cause chaos. It turns the plaster to mush, rots the wood lath behind it, and makes the paint itself bubble and peel off. You'll keep repainting, blaming bad paint, when the real issue is that you're suffocating your house. We learned this one in a small bedroom. The plaster was a bit rough, so we skim-coated it with modern drywall mud and painted it with a standard interior latex. A year later, huge bubbles were appearing in the paint. When we scraped one off, the plaster underneath was damp and crumbly. We had created a problem that didn't exist before. Fixing it was a ton of work and money. We had to strip everything off, let the wall completely dry out for weeks, repair the plaster with the right lime-based material, and then repaint with a special breathable paint. The right way to do this takes research and patience. You have to figure out what your house is made of and then choose new materials that are compatible. Use breathable, mineral-based paints on plaster. If you're fixing old brickwork, use a soft lime mortar, not a hard modern cement that will destroy the bricks over time. When you add insulation, look at options like wool or cellulose that can manage moisture, not impermeable spray foam that traps it against your wood framing. It often means skipping the easy, cheap option at the big box store. But if you don't, it's like giving your house a disease that slowly eats it from the inside, and the cure is always way more expensive than prevention. The fifth and final mistake is the one that makes all the others even worse. It's hiring the wrong people for the job, usually because you picked the contractor who gave you the lowest bid. Renovating an old house is a different sport than renovating a new one. It takes a very specific skill set and a real respect for the unique challenges old homes present. Hiring someone without that experience is one of the fastest ways to turn your dream into a nightmare. When you're getting quotes for a big project, the numbers can be shocking. It's totally natural to look at the bid that's thousands or tens of thousands of dollars cheaper and think you're being smart with your money. The temptation is huge, but you have to stop and ask, why is it so much lower? Are they using cheap, wrong materials? Are they cutting corners on prep work? Did they have no clue how complex old house systems are, so they haven't budgeted enough time? Are they skipping things like permits? Often, the answer is all of the above. An inexperienced contractor might treat your plaster walls like drywall, leading to huge cracks and failure. They might install new windows the wrong way, causing drafts and water damage. They might not recognize a structural problem and just start smashing, creating an emergency that costs a fortune to fix. They might do electrical or plumbing work without a permit that you'll have to pay to rip out and redo when you try to sell the house. We fell into this trap. We needed some wood rot repaired on our porch. We got 3 quotes. 2 were from contractors who specialized in historic restoration. Their quotes were detailed and, yeah, pretty high. The third was from a general handyman whose bid was half the price. We went with the handyman. He fixed the rot by slathering it with Bondo and painting over it. It looked fine for about 6 months. Then the Bondo cracked and fell out in chunks because it doesn't expand and contract with the wood. Even worse, it had trapped moisture behind it, making the wood rot even faster. We had to call one of the original specialists back to fix the fix. They had to cut out a much bigger section of wood and custom make a new piece to match the original. The total cost was way more than if we just hired the right person from the start. The solution is to vet your contractors with extreme prejudice. Don't just look at the price. Look for proof they've worked on houses like yours. Ask for a portfolio and, more importantly, ask for references from other old house clients and then actually call them. Check their license and insurance. Make sure their contract is super detailed, spelling out the exact materials and methods they'll use. Prioritize expertise over the bottom line. A great contractor is your most valuable asset. A bad one isn't just a waste of money. They can cause tens of thousands of dollars in new damage, turning your investment into a liability. So there you have it. 5 mistakes that can turn your historic dream home into a financial disaster. Ignoring hidden dangers like old wiring and asbestos, overlooking the bones of the house, not budgeting for surprises, using the wrong materials, and hiring the wrong contractor. It can sound overwhelming, I know, maybe a little terrifying. But the point of this isn't to scare you away from fixing up an old house. It's the exact opposite. It's to arm you with the knowledge to do it the right way. Owning and carefully restoring a piece of history is one of the most rewarding things you can do. These homes have a soul and a story you just can't find in new construction. By knowing these major pitfalls, you can plan for them. You can balance all that excitement with a healthy dose of realism. You can build the right team, use the right materials, and set a budget that won't break you. You can be a steward of your beautiful old house, preserving its past while creating an amazing future for your family. It is absolutely worth it. You just have to go into it with your eyes wide open. Now I want to hear from you. What's the biggest old house mistake you've ever made, or what's the best piece of advice you've gotten? Drop it in the comments below. Let's build a resource for everyone in this awesome community. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.